Courtney and Derek Guggenberger. Thank you guys for doing this. Appreciate you taking the time, man. Cheers.
Cheers.
Absolutely. I love the aesthetic of this place that you guys have. It's fantastic. And one of my favorite questions to always start is, what's the origin story of Guggman Haus Brewing?
Yeah, well, it goes back to 2012, maybe even before that. But Derek brewed like a Mr. Beer kit one time when we lived in our apartment in Broderville, and then and he just graduated college, and then we moved to Germany for a year, and that's where we fell in love with beer, Hefeweizen, and we can talk more about that. But we lived over there, the whole community around beer, and we were able to experience it for a year. Around the same time, my twin sister Abby and her husband Ryan lived over in Denver, and they got to do the same thing: go hiking in the evenings, go to breweries in the afternoon, or other way around. But they go to the breweries, and it's just like a community around beer. And they started home brewing as well, so it's kind of like cool because we both got to fall in love with it in our own ways, and then we moved back to Indianapolis in 2013, and started making a business plan and really like stepping up the home brewing game. So, anything you want to add to that?
No, I mean, really, we knew for a couple of years even before we opened that we wanted to open a brewery, so it became a lot. Like we were brewing, it was two times a week, just at home, evenings. And doing that for like 2 years straight, basically just perfecting a lot of recipes that we knew eventually that we wanted to with.
Yeah, you guys have 15 going at any one time, right?
It does. It's usually at least 15. It fluctuates sometimes. Like right now, it's 13, but we're putting 2 more out tomorrow, so we'll be right back up to 15.
Very nice. Well, like I said, I love the aesthetic of this place. How'd you guys get connected to the Boyle Shaw and putting the racing thing together in this historic old building that has a lot of race history to it?
Yeah. So back in 2015. It was actually like January 1st of 2016. We met with the group that was looking to save this building. But for about a year, we were finishing our business plan and starting to look for locations. And originally, we were looking at Broderville because that's kind of what we knew. That's where we lived. That's where we homebrewed. And then we had met with, I think, a financial planner at the time who was really connected in the brewing industry and had heard of this group of racing enthusiasts trying to save an old historic building from complete city demo. And they were looking for kind of an anchor tenant to grasp on to the idea that they had to kind of bring it back to life. And so we thought it sounded interesting, probably bigger than what we had imagined in the beginning. And then we came and saw the space, and it was imagine this, but like there was a skylight kind of hanging down. The windows were all broken and like vines growing in. It was beautiful in its own way, but it was completely dilapidated completely.
Yeah, roof had caved in, and it was rough shape.
There was a carport over, it used to be office buildings back there, and a carport from this main building over to the house. And so it was like all one connection. It was nuts. So that's how we got the connection though.
Very nice.
Way back when. And then we kind of made it as part of our job to help keep that legacy alive.
Sure. How long did it take you guys to completely revamp this place the way you got it to where you were ready to open the doors?
Well, we started in 2016. We said yes, let's go down this journey, and in 2019, so about 3 years later, we opened the house, which we had blueprints for this the whole time. But this is a 20,000 square foot building that we're in right now, and for many reasons, it just took a lot longer than we ever planned. And so we switched gears a little bit into the project to restore the house, which was going to come later initially. So then we brewed over there in the basement for 2 years on 2 two-barrel systems, and squeezed as much as we could out of that during a pandemic, outdoor seating only and all of that. So it took a while, but for us, it worked out. I kind of believe things work out the way they should, and the fact that we were able to open in the house, and then there was a pandemic, and we were able to at least grow like a good amount of loyal customers and friends through that, allowed it to be successful when we opened up over here.
Yeah, because that was the first time I came here. It was we were right in the thick of it.
Yeah.
Not there, but it's been crazy, man, because I was still traveling on planes as this thing was jumping off, and it's crazy how, has that made, going through that experience, has it made being a brewery owner a lot different than you thought it would?
I think it just gave us perspective, and it's like, that was obviously scary. We opened in June of 2019, that March, it was like St. Patrick's Day, we got word that we had to shut down. And so it was just, and it was our full-time jobs, we were the first to quit. So I think it was just it was terrifying in many ways, but things just, it gave us a good perspective, kind of, it gave us a good foundation for that we know as a business that we could turn and be, what's the word I'm looking for? Versatile and kind of change with times as needed. I mean, we switched from, you know, having our little tap room to online ordering within like 2 days because we knew we needed to have that in order to push out the beer that we were making. Yeah, so.
That's interesting. Getting back to the beer, what is, you know, I always love the creativity of this space. And that's always emblematic in the names of the beers. How do you guys come up with the names of your beers? I love this answer because I get such a wide range.
Yeah.
So what is the Guggman Haus style of selecting names for your beers?
How do you think we need beers? What have you heard from other people?
Well, I hear people have some music influences. Some just if they have a random thought one day, they just throw it up on a whiteboard.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, Taxman has obviously the pun intended from the tax world, but I've heard wide ranging because everybody's Mashcraft wants to go just kind of plain because they got cease and desist letters every time they would throw something out or the name that already existed. And obviously, you guys have German influences, so but it's a different style. Everybody sometimes says no style. I just thought of it one time.
No, yeah, we do. It's just funny to hear how other people do because I imagine it's all like pretty the same. So we have a nature influence. I mean, if you look at the name of our beers, especially our experimental New Englands, it's all like exploration, adventure, and that's kind of the theme and the feel we wanted to bring here anyways, especially from like Germany and Denver. But we've done over 75 like unique hazy IPAs. So we've literally named all of them except like we have New England 1 and New England 2. And that was like from when we first opened. And then we decided we needed to make a name, which is fun because like I think number 29 we just brought back today. And so it has a name and a label and everything now.
And so for a while, like we put this like giant list together of we think of names and put them on a list, and then basically as we make the beers, we kind of see what kind of matches up with it.
Yeah, we have a big Google Doc that has like milkshake names, hazy IPA names, American IPA, because they all have a little bit, like our milkshakes are more beach focused. I usually, if it's a bigger one that we know we might want to distribute down the road, obviously make sure that it's not taken. Some names, you know, 100 other people have them, so yeah, it's hard to name a beer. We have to come up with one after this for a beer we're releasing tomorrow. So.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, but it's fun. I mean, it's fun to see it come to life and like take on its own. Like Foggy Trails is a fun one. It's like everyone knows it now, and it kind of takes on a life of its own.
Oh, that's great. Well, let me ask you, what was the first beer that hooked you? Like craft beer. You know, if people that heard me on the podcast before, it was like I was in college. You know, you're just buying the cheapest thing. You know, it's like a case of Natural Light for $13. But then I had Fat Tire, and that was like, this is different. And that kind of led me down the reds to the browns and all the other things. What was you guys' first beer that hooked you?
Yeah, well, a similar story here was, you know, in college it was the, you know, domestic beer. You know, if it was a special occasion, you get some High Life or something, you know. But you know, really it was when we moved over to Germany. I drank the German Hefeweizen for the first time. I just fell in love with just the amount of flavor you could have out of a beer like that. And so for me, you know, that started it. You go to the beer stores over there, and they just have an entire aisle of, you know, just Hefeweizens. And so did a lot of, you know, research, drinking one or two of these a day. Research, I love that.
It's a different Ritter Sport chocolate bar every day too.
Yeah, that's really what kind of got me going.
Okay. How about you?
That's a good question. I don't even know. I haven't thought about that. What made me beer? I should know. I don't honestly know. I drank a lot of Pilsners when we were over there, but that was like the festival beers. And that, I did not fall in love with that style, but it kind of like tamed my palate. I think trained it a little bit to be able to accept different beers. Because, I mean, back then, that was 10 years ago. So it was really just starting. I don't even remember what I drank too much. Now I like hazy IPAs. Those are my thing.
Very nice. Well, having lived in Germany, you know, obviously everybody hears of the beer festivals over there. Give me kind of a backdrop as to if you experienced going to a beer festival while you guys lived there for the year and how they compare to what we do over here. They're probably nowhere near the same.
Well, so over there, it's like there's always a reason for a celebration. whether it's wine season, and we lived in the wine area, but it's beer season everywhere. And so,
Sure.
like, whether beginning or end of the season, there was a festival and a reason to celebrate. So, I mean, there was like beer fest all the time.
Yeah, so they basically would, if it was a town hosting it, they would just have a bunch of big tables kind of in their town square area.
Okay.
And you would go and you buy liters of beer or half liters, kind of whatever the kind of season was.
And you could get to all these towns from where we were. I mean, within like 15 minutes, you could get to Heppenheim or Weinheim, and we lived in Zwingenberg, and they all had their own little festivals, so you could just go to a different one every weekend. And it was a lot of celebrating community, a lot of street food, German street food, which we loved, and just meeting friends for a beer. And then the bigger ones, of course, like he went to Frühlingsfest in Stuttgart.
Yeah. And then we went to, which is, I would call it like a tamer version of Oktoberfest, a little more personable. You actually have conversation, kind of stuff like that. Oktoberfest is just crazy.
Yeah, we went to it. It was awesome, but it would not be first on my list of things to return to when I go back to Germany.
Frühlingsfest, I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're hosting a Frühlingsfest in 2 weeks.
Very nice. We'll have to sure to post that date. As you guys were putting this place together, obviously German influence, Colorado nature. Is there any specific breweries where you guys kind of got some ideas and inspiration from as you guys were kind of putting the aesthetic together?
That's a good question. Aesthetically, I mean, I'd say it was more us kind of pulling the aspects that maybe we didn't see in other breweries, and kind of bringing that all together.
Or you see an occasion where more as like concepts, like lots of natural light or garage doors. These are all things that we wanted to incorporate. And then for us, we enjoy kind of that naturey feel. So we knew that even without seeing it, I guess before, that we want to incorporate some nice natural wood and stuff into our building as well.
Yeah, we had vision boards that kind of laid out. We knew exactly what we wanted it to look like, and from Germany, having that beer hall feel. And so that's kind of what it is over there. Is there are some longer tables in the tap room, but then we wanted the cozy spaces where you could go and just if you're by yourself and want to read a book, you can curl up in a comfy chair. If you want to meet other people, sit at a community table. We try to have those different, almost like you might. I would never compare it to a coffee shop, but you get that experience a little bit
Sure.
in a coffee shop too. So yeah, I don't know if there wasn't necessarily another brewery but maybe a collaboration of many that we visited over the years of just different aspects that we knew we wanted.
Very nice. Well, obviously our beer scene here in Indiana has grown over the years. I remember sitting down with Dave Cold or Dave over at Triton, and when they started, there was 40-something breweries. Now there's over 180. As you guys are kind of putting your foothold into the Indianapolis community, what other beers other than your own from the area do you like to partake in?
Well, we're still a relatively new brewery. We hardly get to go out ever. But I think for me it'd be having a chance to actually go visit with friends at different breweries. Like Blackacre, Black Circle, getting out the Pax Beer at some point. Just a lot of people that we've made friends with over time, just having that chance to actually go visit the breweries.
Absolutely. Yeah, I live in Noblesville, so Lapel's not that far from me. So I've gotten to know Jason and Colt pretty well over these last, especially coming out of the pandemic. It was like between them and Primeval, they were supposed to be.
Yeah.
Fields up there too.
Yeah, Fields up in Westfield. I've sat down with Ryan and Jackie and them and those guys. Of course, the Way Out Fest was fun because you get all these different concoctions. I mean, Ryan and Field made this dill pickled beer, and I was like, I didn't know if it would be good, and I tried it. I'm like, damn, that's actually pretty tasty. But you guys, I was scrolling through some social media. You guys are becoming fan favorites. You just won the indie beer review. I was just flipping through my thing, and you guys were fan voted as the winner of his final four thing. So you are getting, even though you're relatively new, you're still getting a great foothold here. So that's cool to see. Now, obviously, the taps and all the beers that you have are your successes. I like asking this question, especially from having a homebrewing background. Is give me a fun story around a failure that maybe you were trying to mix together but just came out dead on arrival.
Well, and so over in the basement of the house, so we had a couple of one-barrel fermenters that we'd experiment with. And so one of the ones that we thought sounded really good would be the strawberry Hefeweizen.
Which people do, and they get success.
Which we thought sounded great. The challenge is if you actually want to use real strawberry, which we do. So part of our philosophy is using real ingredients. things. So we're not going to use extracts, we don't use concentrates, things like that. And so funny thing is, when you try and use normal strawberry and the Hefeweizen itself is not sweet enough to make it taste like strawberry. So once it ferments out, the whole thing just kind of smelled like a foot. Like it was really bad.
I didn't go past there.
Yeah, you taste it. It tastes like it was fine, but you just couldn't get past the smell of it because the smell of strawberry with no sweetness to it just is not good. So yeah, that one did not go any further than that.
One of my favorites of all time was Andrew Mashcraft said he tried to do a bacon beer, and he couldn't find a way to render the fat. So it was just it's kind of like some that are tinkering like with bourbon aged stuff and all that. My palate either wants a beer or it wants a bourbon. And people always disagree with me on that, but that's just me, right? So
yeah.
Well, one of the things I do in my day to day when I meet with my clients is I always just tell them there's just 4 challenges to creating sustainable wealth for yourself. As you guys kind of come out of the pandemic and move forward, is there any specific challenges that you guys are looking to overcome here in the short term to benefit the brewery long term?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think right now, I've been here, but it's like so we opened this last June, so not even a year. And like I said, it's large. And so just the startup expenses that we still have of things like trying to get past some of those. And then you're on to maintenance expenses that we're gonna have obviously every year. Sure. But we're excited to get past some of that stuff. Like we want to put a pergola outside so we don't have to buy umbrellas every year. It's just a lot of expenses like that you might have a really good month, but then it's like, what? Then we gotta buy all these other things. So yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you don't necessarily think of. This is acoustically is not bad, but soundproofing the space, or sound, whatever you want to call it, dampening of the space is expensive.
Right.
But it would be a really added bonus to our clients that book out this space, or when we have live music in here. So
it's all these little things that keep kind of confident. We're like, okay, well, we had an okay month, and now we're having about this. It is.
Yeah. So it's ebbs and flows, and it's our not even 3rd year yet, so we're learning a lot as we go as well.
Very good. Are you guys getting a lot of people coming back to the large event space that are kind of paying you for events and private events? It seems like some of the places are starting to come back.
Oh
a
yeah,
little bit with that
yeah,
regard.
yeah. We've had a lot of receptions for people that got married during COVID and then want to have their reception.
Very nice.
And a lot of corporate events, which is great. So I met someone last night who was here for a corporate event 2 weeks ago, and it's a nice way for more exposure, for sure. So yeah.
Okay, so as far as the soundproofing, what would you need to do to this space to kind of make it more soundproof?
Add some panels.
Yeah,
to the ceiling.
basic
Panels to the
foam
ceiling, yeah.
panels.
Yeah,
some
foam
basic
panels.
stuff like that.
Okay. All right. Well, most breweries have food, and they try to do their pairings with regards to it. Obviously, you guys have some great food here. I love the potato pancakes, man. That's always a favorite of mine. Was food always part of the vision alongside the brewery, or was it something that we got this large space, we can?
Yeah, it was always in the plans. A little bit different than how it turned out, which it turned out, I think, the best way it probably could have. So when we were in the house, we were getting sandwiches from Goose Market, and we'd heat them up in the convection oven, and we'd bust and the pretzels. So we had pretzels and sandwiches in that tiny little house, and then we would turn it out. It was insane. And so we knew, obviously, we wanted to, if we could, keep that revenue in house, or at least. There's 2 things. That would be nice, but we knew we needed a food option no matter what, because people stay around longer, people want to eat with food, and they don't want to have to, or eat with beer. They don't want to always have to bring it in from outside either. So the initial path we had looked down was having a partner outfit the kitchen and run the whole thing and pay rent to us. But after the pandemic, it was just hard to find a partner willing to dive into that, not knowing necessarily what it would really turn out to be. So we opened the cabin kitchen as a separate business within, we're still the owners of it, but we've been able to run it separately, which worked out for us because we didn't want to be a brew pub at all. We didn't want table service. We wanted to be a brewery feel beer first, but a really awesome food program too.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so from the very beginning, we always wanted to be known as a brewery first.
Yeah.
Or at least establish ourselves as a brewery first. We didn't want to be known as a brew pub where they had good food and they happen to have beer too. It was always, we want to be known for having great beer and then bring food in kind of later on.
Yeah. We've been our team is amazing in there. Our chef, he's so creative, new specials all the time. We're getting ready to roll out some new stuff I think people will be excited about.
Oh, that's fantastic. That was
Yeah.
going to be my next question. Is you guys just kind of plan to have just the same menu live on, or are you going to be doing more seasonal stuff? So that's
Yeah,
cool.
like we're gonna expand it a little bit. Some like most of the everything is sticking around, and then we're adding like 2 more salads, another flatbread. Duck wings were special, and they became very popular. Like people call in to see if we have duck wings on special, so those are gonna get added to the menu. And then we're working on our pretzel a little bit to give it a little upgrade.
Man, I've never had duck wings before.
Me either. Yeah, they're not my thing. They smell really good, and people
Okay.
love them. So.
All right. Well, that's
But I
something
got a
new. I'm
few
gonna
other
have to try
favorites on the
it.
menu. Yeah.
Okay. Well, everybody likes to have a, kind of this community atmosphere inside the brew halls, but this, that term can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. What are you guys looking to do or looking to build as far as community, and what does that mean to you?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's kind of a few different aspects to that, I think. I was at an event last night in Broderville pouring samples, and we lived there, and so it's just cool to be like amongst other people that live there too. But they said that we I can't quote it exactly, but she's like, you guys saved me during COVID because I was able to come and like sit outside, and that was like my place to go. And like from that, we've had people continue to come here. But during COVID, it was outside only, table service, and I don't know if many places weren't offering that. I think they were, but like we were consistent with it. So people always kind of go back to that as like that was, I don't know, a community was built around that for sure.
Well, I think
And
part
then-
of it was we kept the beer garden open year round.
Yeah.
So which was amazing to see the fan kind of following, like it would be freezing outside and people would still be out there.
In ski
enjoying
clothes.
it.
Yeah. That just created some cool camaraderie amongst people as well. But the other big aspect of community is like trivia nights. We have people that come every Wednesday for trivia. They've got to know people, or we had a euchre league and people got to know other people. And having that choice, like I said, if people want to come and just hang out by themselves, there's option for that. If they want to come and like engage in a different event, there's that too. And then lastly, community-wise, like we've always said, like we make beer and we want to have this space. This is our business. It's like our livelihood. But we also want to use it as like a platform for something else. So we've tried to really tie into the local neighborhood, and especially the schools lately. And we're doing like a year-round collection drive that we have in the entryway. They have at the locals. There's 2 that we really partner with a lot. They have food pantries, and we did one big drive last Christmas, and they were able to one of the schools actually started a pantry based on our donations. And there's kids that like need stuff on the weekends, and so or uniforms or diapers and wipes are needed right now, and we're kind of seeing like an effect of we might have a group come in here in this event space and they're looking for some nonprofit tie-in. Well, they can bring donations. And it's just cool to see, even though it's like, it might be small, it's at least starting somewhere. So.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I love that you said diapers and wipes because I'm actually the board treasurer for the Indiana Diaper Bank.
Oh, are you? Yeah.
And the pandemic was something that was very unique. I mean, we a lot of our distribution partners were kind of in a holding pattern, so we opened up a pantry one Saturday of every month. I think it's 250, 300 cars long some days, 180 some days.
How expensive everything is. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of social programs don't cover the cost of diapers. It's mostly just food and whatnot. So yeah, I'd love to talk to you guys more about that,
for sure.
especially as a distribution spot. Because over here on the Speedway, obviously, a lot of our partners are through most of the greater Indianapolis area. I mean, I even had somebody drive in from Terre Haute.
Oh, really?
Like you probably spent more on gas to get here than.
Well,
but
yeah.
it's crazy.
That's what we learned too. It's like just the logistics. Like there might be resources available, and we've been able to, on a small scale, but like connect people that had food they wanted to donate, and connecting them directly to the social workers so that they could like make that happen. So yeah, we can chat.
Interesting. Obviously you guys are doing a lot of things with the hazies. Pilsners are starting to come back. Is there any other trends that you're seeing that you guys are going to want to tinker with, or is it kind of just sticking to what you got on the table right now?
I mean, there are things that we're working on now still. I mean, there's, as far as, we'll continue, we love the hazies, we love the milkshakes, we love the fruit sours and all that, so we still continue that. One thing we're building up now is our barrel program, so we're going to allow, bourbon barrel aged beers. We'll try and do some, possibly barrel aged, like saisons, some things like that too. Continue to build that up. Otherwise, eventually getting some wild, spontaneous type fermentation.
That's down there. down the
Yeah,
line.
well, all this takes a long time. Like, so we filled barrels, last year that we know we won't even open until maybe mid this year. So it's lots that kind of built up over time.
Okay.
As far as things like I'm not sure. I guess what is the most popular thing coming up right now, but like for example, like seltzers. So we made a name for ourselves doing all those other beers, and the beers that we make are things that we're passionate about and things that we really enjoy. And seltzers, at least up to this point, have been one of those things that we've decided it's not for us.
You won't see
this
it
time.
on our menu for a while.
But if something else comes out soon, like we're gonna get ready to do a collaboration where we're gonna do a cold IPA, which you might have heard of. Basically, more like a West Coast version, kind of like a Pilsner. So we're gonna do one of those soon, and I think that'll be enjoyable. But otherwise, really, if it's a new fad, it has to be something that we really enjoy for us to pursue it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But we have like half of our system that we used in the basement is our pilot system now. So we are open to like trying all kinds of styles.
Yeah.
A lot of times the night before he's like, what should we brew tomorrow? And we're trying to like come up with new styles. So
Well,
we're
yeah.
always open to things. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and for like
But-
this past winter, kind of one of our focuses was we really enjoy these pastry styles, but we really haven't made any up to this point. And so for like 2 months straight, we tied up our pilot system making pastry stouts of different versions and trying different recipes and different ingredients with them. And it turned out really good. And so this next year, as we get more back into the colder season, we'll start bringing some of those back and the experiences from that.
So through those, have you guys had any partnerships with any groups that have like gone into the milkshakes, or like you look at Sun King, what they've done with Jack's Donuts, like the chocolate donut stout and stuff like that? Are those ideas that you guys are looking to pair as you guys kind of craft these other
Yeah.
blends?
We haven't done anything. Well, we did do marshmallows. That was kind of the biggest.
Well, and like for example, like
Addition.
Tinker Coffee.
That was the
So we partner with them. We get basically a cold brew from them that we use for like our house blend. We have a couple different coffee stouts we've made, and so we'll continue to use them for making some sort of coffee kind of inspired.
Yeah, they're right around the corner here.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
just down the street.
We haven't gone crazy though with like the other like cookies and donuts and that kind of thing yet. So, and nothing against that. We just that
Sure.
hasn't been a priority for us.
No, I mean it's you mentioned seltzers. It seems like there's a trend where when a brewery starts to get to a certain size, they transition from a brewery to a beverage company, and you've seen multiple players do it in the States. Is that something long term that you guys want to get outside of? Maybe just not just seltzers, but many more, or you just want to focus on the brewery?
Well, and for us, so I was an engineer before. Basically, I got into brewing, and so I'm very familiar with the production environment and all that. And I knew that we basically need to get this to a certain size where it's sustainable, to where we're not all here working 60, 80, 100 hours a week. We built a big enough team, with different expertise and all that kind of stuff. And so yeah, we also knew we built this space out. It was about 10,000 square feet or so is dedicated to brewing itself. And so we'll basically next couple of years we'll start filling up our basically big warehouse space right now that doesn't really have much in it besides storage, and really kind of grow that. So we know at the space we get maybe 5,000 to 10,000 barrels, and so basically kind of continue to work towards that, build up our brew team, along those lines.
But that's sticking to mainly to beer,
Okay.
or it's sticking all to beer. Yeah.
Now, do you guys have thought about canning or focus on canning or distributing throughout the state, or you just want to have a central location where people come here and get it?
Challenge right now is we just have a single head filler. I mean, it's automated, so push a can in one side, it comes out filled. So it's just like a small version of a bigger production line, but the output is not high enough to where it makes sense to sell to stores. So right now we just can for in-house.
Yeah.
But
We distribute kegs though to a small list around the city, which we're trying to grow that, but that's a homegrown process of self-distribution. So
Yeah, it seems like a lot of different breweries kind of found cans through the pandemic, and now it's become a bigger part of their business model, and that's just kind of one of these things of changing and adapting as the environment does, right? So now, as far as kind of this is my last question for you guys. When I sit down with a client or business owner for the first time, I always ask them the same question. If we were to sit down 3 years from now, what do you want to accomplish? It could be professional, financial, emotional, to where if we got to that point, we can look back and say our time spent together was valuable and we're on the right track. As it pertains to Guggman Haus Brewing, what do you guys want to accomplish over the next 3 years? That if we sat down and did another podcast, then you could say, all right, we met every goal we wanted to do, and now we're up and going further.
Yeah. What would you say? How many barrels do we want to get?
Well, and it can be from two different sides. From like a brewing perspective, I want to be in the 3,000 to 5,000 barrel range. For us, it's enough to where you can build up a good team to where if one person's gone, you're not just like completely overloading the rest of the team that's there. It also gives us a chance for us to take some time off too, as me too. It's not something we've really been able to do in the last 3 years, and it sure would be nice. But yeah, just continue to grow and improve our beer, and eventually buy a new brew house to where we have a pretty small brew house right now, and we bought it because one, it was a deal that we couldn't pass up about 5 years ago when we bought it, thinking it was going to be our first system we were going to brew on, and right now it's we already basically outgrew it just coming into the space, but that's what we had, so we made it work. But eventually a new brew house where we're not brewing 2-3 times a day, and it will be easier on the brew guys too as we're going. But really, yeah, continue to improve the brew operation to where basically get the right team in place where it's more sustainable.
Yeah. So in 3 years, we will have our second location finalized.
Oh, very nice.
And we're going to be very picky about it. And 3 years. We have a bigger location, not bigger than this, but like a bigger project that we want to go after. So at that 3 year mark, I'm sure that's in our strategic plan we made for this year. I don't know if it was 3 or 5, but I'm pretty sure it's 3. We'll have that in the works.
With you guys being so close to the Speedway, are you thinking going more north?
For this one particular, it would probably be within, it would be out of like the city a little bit.
Yes.
But we'll see. Yeah.
Very nice.
We'll explore a little bit. And, that'll be fun.
Fantastic. Well, thank you guys for taking some time today. I enjoyed the conversation. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, Guggman Haus, come see them. Over here on approaching Speedway. Derek, Courtney, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it. All right. Well, that's it for this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. For the latest on financial views with local brews, please check out our website at financialviewswithlocalbrews.com. You can also find us on YouTube via our channel there under the same name, Financial Views with Local Brews, as well as follow us on all of our social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, where you can like and connect with us throughout the craft beer universe that we're trying to explore here in the great state of Indiana. As always, cheers. The next round's on me, and I look forward to seeing you for future episodes. Bye, everyone.